Okay, so now what we're going to take a look at here is we're going to look at some of the call control type features on a phone. So this is specifically a 9500 series set. By the way, the plastics, same exact phone. If it was a 9608, if it was a 9611G, the difference really is the 9508 is a digital, the 9608 is an IP, the 9611G is a gigabit. But the same plastics, just different electronics inside depending on what the customer's needs are. Phones function basically the same way. I'd have my button maps here. I actually have, as you see, because it is a display phone, I have 8 buttons, and I have 3 pages of 8 buttons. So let's take a look at one of the first features I want to point to with IP Office, which is something we call hot desking. So it could be a single site, and maybe different people need to log in at different desks, different days. One example of this has been a customer who was a school district, and they wanted to have analog phones in the classroom and log into the analog phones. So I could use star codes. You could also have buttons programmed for this, but I'll show you that it's pretty universal. I can use star codes. So if I dial star 35, star 202, put my password in, I now have changed from being logged in to having Scott logged in. I can also log out, and when I log out, I go back to the original user. So you can log in over top of someone, or you could, log out and then log in. So now I'm back to Sid Rice. So I can do this to a digital phone, which is what this is. I could do it to an IP phone. I could do it to an analog phone. Could be at a single site. Could be across, again, a small community network or multi-site network, which is up to 32 sites. Okay? So next what I want to show you is I've got this phone, and you can kind of see some of the different areas here. So these are soft keys. These are going to change depending on where I am in a call. Okay? You have lighted buttons here, so the message, if I actually had voicemail, this light would come on as well as the message light up at the top. And these also have lights in them. So one of the nice things with IP Office is I could get up, go get a cup of coffee, and I come back to my desk, and let's see. So I walk away, and while I'm away, someone calls me. You see I'm getting indication on the phone. By the way, you notice how these changed to give me different options. And now that person hangs up, they don't leave a voicemail. Well, what has changed is this history light has lit. If I press the history light, I will see who called me, and oh, by the way, I can even call them right back. So that's nice. That's call history. It's built into the sets. Again, that light will come on if you've missed a call. Okay. Next up, I want to show you do not disturb exceptions. So what this means is, like most systems, we have do not disturb. So I can turn do not disturb. I have it programmed right here. The light will light up, and I'm on do not disturb. If I dial from the phone here in my hand, you hear it ringing on this phone, but the phone here is not alerting, not ringing, because I'm on do not disturb. Well, what happens if you have a case where you're working on a project? Maybe there are some people, your manager, maybe it's the school nurse, you drop the child off and they have a slight temperature. People that you want to be able to call you no matter what. You can put them in something we call a do not disturb exception list, which is programmed into the phone or through the manager interface. So users can add these as well as the system administrator. Oh, by the way, so I have a different phone, the one over here. You notice how it is alerting even though I have do not disturb on. Again, because I've added that phone to my do not disturb list. Okay? So next up, what I want to show you is another way you can do some kind of screening with calls, right? So I can have do not disturb on, but I could also have screening on. So with screening turned on here, I'll go ahead and I'll dial 201. You see it's ringing. To speed the process, I'll hit 2 voicemail.
Your call has been answered by a via IP office.
Sid Rice.
He's not available. To leave a message, wait for the tone.
And I'm going to skip this by pressing 1 just to skip ahead. So now you'll notice that I can talk. This is a one-way talk path. So what's happening is this call, this phone, is hearing through the speaker me leave a voicemail. Okay? They have two options. They can answer the call or ignore the call. Okay? So if they don't want to, they listen, yeah, that's important, but I'll call them back later, they can press ignore. If they say, you know what, I should probably take that call, they can go ahead and press answer, which will pull it from voicemail. And now it's a live talk path, and I'm talking to the person. Okay, so now it's a two-way talk path. So they have the option to screen, which, it's just programming this button. And once that button is programmed and I've turned it on, if calls go to voicemail, I will hear them leaving their message, and I can hit ignore, or I can, go ahead and answer that call. And by pressing that button, I've now turned call screening off. Okay, so next up, I want to show you real basic functionality. So let's say I get a call in. I answer the call, and now I want to transfer the call. So remember I told you have these different buttons that basically change as what context, depending on the context you're in. So I can hit transfer, I get dial tone. If I dial the other number, now I could tell the person this is an announced transfer. So I tell them, hey, you got a call, it's so-and-so, and then you notice that I can complete the transfer here. Okay, so very easy. The phone actually will guide you through it step by step. I could also do it as a blind transfer. So again, I'll call. I'll answer the call. I'll hit transfer. I will dial 203, and before he's even picked up, I hit complete, and now that call is going to go ahead and ring straight over to the other phone, and it will be up to them to pick up, or it'll go to their voicemail. So again, it's kind of nice. These context-sensitive keys are going to change depending on where you are and give you the options that make sense. Another nice feature of the phones, and again, this one specifically is going to require Preferred Edition. So you have a system with Preferred Edition. The Preferred Edition includes Voicemail Pro, which is going to let you do something we call call recording. So I'll go ahead and answer the call. And now this person either is, maybe it's a threatening message, maybe it's just a call with a lot of details. I can hit the record button.
Warning, your call is being recorded.
And it's going to give me a prompt. Now that prompt can be modified. You can make it say something else. You could have a beep instead. You could have nothing. It really depends on state law, what you should have there. And of course, the customer may have preferences to what they want, okay? But it's now recording this call and placing it into my voicemail box. Okay? So that's call recording, again, built into the system when you have Preferred Edition. Okay? So next up, what I want to show you is I can go ahead and get my voicemail a couple of ways. I could do, the voicemail interface where I hear the different prompts, press 2 for this or 3 for that, but I don't have to. A lot of times customers prefer using something we have called Visual Voice. So I see I have messages because my lights are on. I go ahead and press the button here, and now listen. I can, select, I can hit OK, or I can press the corresponding button up here, go in, I see I have 2 new messages, and I have 9 old. Excuse me, I have Bill or Scott. So I can take my pick and I can say, well, you know what, the one I want to hear is Scott, so I don't have to listen in order. If you think about it, when you're using what's called a TUI, a telephone user interface, I must listen sequentially. Well, with Visual Voice, I don't have to listen sequentially. I can pick whatever message I want. I can hit play, and now I can pause it, for example. I can go into more, and I can even copy it. So I want to forward it to somebody else. So again, Visual Voice is going to give me all the functionality that I would have in the TUI, but through a nice, easy-to-use graphical interface. Okay? So that's one of the benefits. And this is something that's available with Essential or Preferred Edition. So it's something they're pretty much going to have with the system, and they can, take advantage of it. Okay? So next, what I want to show you is I'm going to go ahead and set up a on-demand conference call. So this is a very big selling feature of IP Office, the fact that we have two 64-party bridges built right into the system. So I can use them for on-demand, or I can have what we call a Meet Me conference. So first I want to just show you an on-demand, so I can go ahead and call another number. I'll pick that up, put it down. So now I hit conference to get dial tone again. I'll dial my next person. Now I'll go ahead and press conference again, and I've joined them together. So you see I have a conference, I have 3 parties, and oh, by the way, if I hit details over here, I can actually see. Now here, these are all users on the system, so I see the names. By the way, I could see caller ID information if they weren't on the system. So I'd be able to tell I had a call from different numbers. I'd see who they were. This will vary based on phones. So on these display phones, you will have a drop or a mute. Okay? So I can literally come in and say, well, you know, Bill is riding in his car, and it's hard to hear with him on there, so I'm going to mute him. And it's kind of subtle, but if you look carefully in that middle one, you can see a little line through Bill's phone, which is saying that he's muted, and I can unmute him so he can talk again. I can also do a call with someone and say, you know what? We're finished with Bill. Bill's part of the call. Thank you, Bill, and we'll talk to you later. Hit drop. You see he's gone. You've heard the tone maybe. I don't know how well this mic picked it up, but there was a beep tone that he was dropped, and I can continue the call with just the 2 of us to finish up. Okay, so that's called on demand. That's the ability to set up a conference call. Again, there are 2 64-party bridges built into the system, so you can have a call pretty much up to the limit of your trunks. Now, this is not something you do with analog trunks. You need either PRIs or SIP trunks, but depending on your trunking, you'd be able to do up to 64 parties, combined external and internal callers. The next thing I want to show you, and this requires Preferred Edition, because I'm going to send out an invitation and host a call. I'm going to have a Meet Me call. So I'll go ahead and dial with a couple of phones and get them on there. I'll do another phone here. Okay, so I have 2 parties now. I'll go ahead and join myself. So now we're on there. Much like before, I see 3 parties. I can see the timer. I hit details. I see who the parties are. Again, I could drop them or mute them. Okay? So this functionality, again, you're going to use Preferred Edition to actually do the announcement, put your PIN code in so you can be authenticated, but the bridge itself is something that's built into IP Office. Okay? Can definitely save companies a lot of money because they don't have to use external conferencing solutions.